All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about Lamar Jackson's comments after the playoff loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll get into that. This is a couple things that he had to say. Um, so this is in an article from apnews.com. So he said, "We're mad. We were one win away from the Super Bowl. What I've been talking about all season. My team has been talking about all season. We fell short. The offense, we didn't put nothing on the board. We scored once. That's not like us. I'm not frustrated. I'm angry because I know how hard we worked to get here." Now, I kind of feel like that's like the same thing. Now, I don't know what the exact question was that before he answered. I mean, he also said to he also said you can't turn the ball over. It's tough like that. Defense did a wonderful job, held a great offense to 17 points. We got only one touchdown. That's not like us. No excuses. So first thing I'll say is very accountable, and that's something that I think Lamar does a great job with. Um, is being accountable. And yeah, I mean, you look at the season that he had, and he's likely going to be the MVP. You know, you gotta be able to answer the tough questions, especially after a playoff loss like this. And the Ravens offense, they did not play up to what they've been playing like all season, especially because they also didn't really run the ball either, which really didn't make sense. But he's angry, but he's not frustrated. Now I feel like those are like similar meanings, but I don't know. That's just me. But for me though, I mean, he's not going to say it, but I don't know. Don't you think this is kind of? I mean, I think this. I mean, I feel like internally he probably thinks this, but he's not going to say it. But I mean, listen, you know, you haven't performed particularly well in the postseason. I mean, his first playoff game. I mean, you really forget about it. Honestly, is when they lost to the Chargers, and that was at home. Then the following year, you're an MVP. You're the MVP, one seed. You lose to the Titans at home. Then, you win against the Titans the following year, but then, you lose to the Bills in Buffalo. Lamar didn't really play well in that game through a pick six. And then now you got this year where, listen, I mean, they did win 34-10 against the Texans, but that game was close. That game was tied going into the half. And then the Ravens, opened it up and they were able to, pull away and win. But again, that was a little bit of a struggle for a bit. And then now you got this game where it just the whole game. I mean, after the Zay Flowers touchdown, I mean, well, first of all, they started off the game going a quick 3-and-out, and then the Chiefs go right down the field, score a touchdown. But then the Ravens, they gambled, they went for it on fourth down. Lamar Jackson picks up a first down. They end up scoring a touchdown. A great improvisation play by Lamar Jackson, throwing the touchdown then to Zay Flowers, where you thought he was going to get sacked. But then after that, I mean, the Ravens' offense just stalled. It did nothing. And listen, we could talk about how they didn't run the football in this game, but the quarterback didn't play well. The quarterback did not play well. He's a part of the reason for that. And if the Ravens listen, the Ravens need Lamar Jackson. I mean, because we saw the last couple of seasons. I mean, they had to start Tyler Huntley in the playoff game last year against the Bengals, and then the year before that they didn't make it because Lamar got hurt. The Ravens need Lamar. I'm not saying like, oh, they should move off him. No. Oh, they almost, well, not that they almost did, but there was talk about that, because with all the trade rumors and stuff before the year started. But anyways, um, you know, the Ravens need Lamar, and Lamar is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and one of the best playmakers in the NFL. But when you get to the postseason, it's been very it's been difficult for them to take that next step. And you thought with this team and how loaded they are on both sides of the ball, you thought this was going to be the year. And you had the one seed. You're at home, but you lose to that. You lose to Patrick Mahomes. And listen, that's been a lot of teams' problems. But, again, you don't know what's going to happen year to year. Injuries and teams that don't make the playoffs some teams end up making it, and you could be the odd team out. And the Ravens, they play in a tough division. Now, I think they're still looked at as the best team in the division right now. But you're going to get a healthy Joe Burrow back next year, who's going to have something to say about it. The Browns are still going to be there. The Steelers, the Steelers beat them twice this year. I know the second game was with the backups, but still, the Steelers give them problems. And then and of course, then you got, teams in other divisions as well in that conference. I mean, it's a loaded conference, and in a year where the Chiefs weren't looked at to be the favorites, this was your year, and you still couldn't get it done. So, again, the accountability is there with Lamar, but I don't know. I feel like, it should be a little more than just, I think there's a lot of emotions because, again, this was the best team you probably had, and you still came up short. So, what are you going to do next year? Because you figure the Chiefs are going to, improve this receiving core, because that was one of the weaknesses of the team, was the weakness of the team. The defense was their strength. Travis Kelce, after having this, regular season where everyone's like, yeah, he's lost a step. He's not the same Travis Kelce. I mean, he looks like Travis Kelce now. The Chiefs are going to be there next year. They're going to be better next year. And they're, as Lamar Jackson has once said, they're his kryptonite. So, it's it's a problem. It's a problem that they continue to just struggle with the Chiefs. And like I said, listen, they did win the previous regular season matchup against them. The most recent matchup before this game. But again, the Chiefs could have very easily won that game. The Chiefs kind of gave that game away to the Ravens. And here there was never really. I mean, every time it looked like the Ravens were going to get something going, nothing happened. Zay Flowers' big play, taunting penalty, pushes them back. Then they're about to score, and then Zay Flowers fumbles at the 1. Lamar Jackson throws the interception in the triple coverage. They just could not. And then earlier in the game too, they're driving. They were in field goal range, and then they got knocked out of field goal range. It's like there was a lot of chances for them to score points, and they just could not get it done. And it's unfortunate because again, Lamar Jackson had a good season. This was a very good team. The defense, I mean, listen, the defense showed up for the Ravens. They played unbelievable, but in the end, they fell short. They fell short. It's and the other thing too is of course the penalties. So yeah, they were penalized 8 times for 95 yards. That just can't happen. Just cannot happen. And people could complain about the refs and all that, but listen, at the end of the day, the Ravens beat themselves. The Ravens beat themselves. Now, I do agree that there were some calls that maybe the ref should have threw a flag. I think there was that play with Likely that maybe that could have, one of the plays involving Likely, maybe that there could have been a flag on that. But that's why people think that there's something going on because, it's like you call certain things on the now again, a lot of the things with the Ravens were blatant, but there were other things too with the Chiefs where it's like, why wasn't there a flag thrown? That's the problem, is the inconsistencies with the officials. And that's why people believe the stuff that they believe. So, but yeah, there were a lot of reasons the Ravens lost this game. Lamar Jackson's a part of that, penalties, Zay Flowers fumbling. I mean, the play calling with not running the football. There's a lot of things you could point at as to why the Ravens lost this game. And again, you give Lamar Jackson credit. I mean, he's gonna own it. He's gonna own it. And we'll see what happens next year. But again, you had this team. I mean, it's like everything was lined up for you guys, and you guys just did not show up. And again, you look at the Texans game. Like I keep saying, the game was tied. And the only touchdown the Texans scored was a special teams touchdown, punt return. I mean, the Ravens were struggling there. And, you know, I didn't feel great going into the game. I mean, I said, listen, I had the Ravens going to the Super Bowl. I was like, prove me wrong. And they didn't. They did not. They, again, lose to the Chiefs. And, now, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what they can do. I mean, of course, there's always things you can improve on. The defense, you want to make sure you retain, the vast majority of the players there. I don't know what the contract situation is for a lot of the players. I'm pretty sure they extended Roquan Smith, so you don't have to worry about him. That was a great trade that the Ravens made to get him. Yeah, I don't know what the contract situation is for the guys on defense, or really for anybody at the moment. I mean, obviously we'll talk about it when we get into the off season, but it's just it's unfortunate. It's really when it comes to the Ravens, because this looked like, hey, maybe this is going to be it, but that's not the case. We got the Chiefs in the Super Bowl once again. But for people saying that it has to do with other things other than the Ravens just beating themselves, it's wrong. The Ravens beat themselves, and they do have their quarterback with Lamar Jackson, but I don't know what you can do. Like, you got this team, you have a weakened Kansas City Chiefs team, and they still came in and beat you. Now, again, they were in the playoff mode, so they look like they are a different team than they were in the regular season. But you know what? Because the playoffs, it's a whole different thing. So, and that's where teams will rise up and teams will not. And the Ravens were a team that did not rise to the occasion. So yeah. Again, Lamar Jackson, being accountable, that's what you want in your quarterback. But not frustrated but angry. Listen, it's got to start waning on you a little bit that this keeps happening, because again, you're gonna have the people that have been complaining about Lamar Jackson's lack of playoff success. That's gonna continue. So internally, that's probably something he thinks about. But at least here he didn't. At least he didn't mention it. At least from what I was reading from the article. So when we come back from before we come back, we go to break. I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, okay, so now when we come back from our second break of the show, we will talk about Jerry Jones saying that the Cowboys are all in for 2024, and what does that mean? So we'll get into that when we come back from our second break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.